live. All right, awesome. So we're going to dive in. I know that has lived under a rock. So if you know anything about Cutco or the Cutco world, one of the legends, one of the baby legends, and someone that I've had it's been so cool to see you grow through the years. And I'm excited to have you here and sharing with our group, and not just our group, but anybody who wants to watch this, really. So the focus of this, I guess, interview, and I'll kind of guide it more like podcast style with whatever we're going, is to really talk about how to have a massive push. This has been a strong suit of yours for many, many years, and we can kind of feed off some stuff and just talk a little about that and just the setup. And I know there's some people that are in it, right, who have started, but if someone's watching this 4 or 5 years from now, and we say, what does it take first off to set up a massive push? I want to talk about pre-push and then during push, and then any other random fun facts or tips. Cool?
Cool.
So pre-push, let's talk about that. So setting up and getting ready, leading up, and you can say from how soon you would start, but then even if someone's like the week of watching this, like the week before the push is starting, what are things that you feel really help set up a huge push?
Okay, great. So first is like, how far out is your promotion starting, right? Normally in the Cutco business, we have 2 push periods. There's an SC1, there's an SC2. During SC1, I'm promoting SC2 the entire time, right? Which is probably 4 to 6 weeks before SC2 push starts. So I like the push promotion has got to start weeks and weeks out, right? Where you're building anticipation and you're building this like, what is this? What is he talking about, right? And people are like, they've heard about it, but they don't know the details. And so like 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out, you're building it up. 3, 4 weeks out, you start to come out with some details. By the time 2 weeks out comes, people are like, okay, dude, seriously, tell us about this thing. What is this? Right? So starting out a mile with the promotion. One of the things I like to do at the beginning of the summer is have a summer calendar. And, almost at every team meeting, I'm trying to print these out and hand them out. And it doesn't happen every time, but it's most of them, right? And it's a May, June, July, August calendar, the entire summer, right? And I'm passing that out almost every team, even if they've already got it. I'm like, hey, take this again, highlight this, circle that, put exclamation points next to this. And I'm promoting it hard from the beginning. And so I think it starts with really, really early promotion. And, it's about like playing to every sense and every desire that this person might have to want to be a part of this, right? It's playing to the logical side. It's playing to the emotional side. It's playing to pain points. It's playing to pleasure points, right? Anything that I can find to hit on, I'm going to hit on, right? Whether it's experience, money, resume, personal growth and development, leadership opportunities, dream job after college, graduate program after college. Like this, being part of this push is the fucking keys to the kingdom, right? Like this is where it all starts. And if you want to grow and expand your capacity, you have to intentionally choose to put yourself outside your comfort zone. And, that is what the push is all about. It's like making an intentional decision to do something crazy, illogical, to do something that's bonkers, that's nuts, that people think is just downright insane. And because when you do that and you push yourself to those types of limits and capacities, what it does is it increases your capacities in every area of your life, right? All ships rise with the tide. I don't care how big or how small the ship is, when the tide comes in, all ships rise. When you increase your capacity in one area of your life, what you're doing is you're increasing your capacity in every area of your life. And that's really what the push with Cutco is about. Yeah, are you going to make a lot of money doing this? Hell yeah. We have sales reps that are 18, 19, 20 years old making $20,000, $30,000 in this push period. Carter Hayes last summer, made $30,000 in this push period as a college student, right? Yeah, we have reps that make a lot of money. Is it cool to win trophies? Absolutely. Like, what I tell people is that no fatigue is felt on the day of victory. And I don't care how early the mornings were and how much adversity you fought through. When you're standing on stage in front of 700 to 1,000 people, hoisting hardware, knowing that you were top 25 out of 10,000 or more sales reps, I mean, that is an irreplaceable feeling. And what I tell reps is, I don't know you well. I, like, at this stage in the summer, I don't have a deep, intimate relationship built with you yet. My hope, by the way, part of my hope is that this push period leads us to the point that we are starting to cultivate that type of relationship, because you're getting into my leadership academy and I'm starting to develop you in a more personalized way, to move into leadership opportunities within Cutco, and then thus, because of that experience, outside of Cutco. But so I don't know you intimately. I don't know you personally. I don't know like the deep, like I don't know all the details, but all I can tell you is this: you step up, you push, you hit your goal, you do your very best. You put your heart and soul into this, and you commit to the process, right? If you are process focused, if you lower your expectation for results and increase your expectation for how you show up, and you bust your ass and you work as hard as you can, I can tell you this: you're standing on stage in front of 700 to 1,000 people with a trophy in your hand. You are going to be filled with the most overwhelming sense of pride and accomplishment that you've ever experienced or could possibly imagine up until this point in your life. And when you get to that point and you realize, holy shit, there are other feelings on the other side of this when I challenge myself again in the future, when I choose to do these types of things, I mean, that is the life-changing decision, right? So for me, the push is about, first of all, early promotion. And then secondly, it's like a week to 2 weeks out. You're starting to really cement commitment from people, right? And, I ran this is something that I thought was really, really powerful. And that, I've given a lot of messages to a lot of people in lots of big group settings. I've never had as many people walk up to me after a message and be like, dude, that was unbelievable. So here's what I did. I have this like patented get on my alliance talk. Okay. And what I do is I in my division meeting, we had 150 or so people in front of me. And I had this get on my alliance talk. And I talked about, what the SC2 push is and what the alliance is. And what the alliance is it's truly, in my opinion, the single greatest catalyst to your best version of yourself that I could possibly think of. I can't think of anything that can challenge you mentally, emotionally, and physically more in a shorter period of time. I cannot think of anything that can help you build more confidence in a shorter period of time. I cannot think of anything that can change how you see yourself differently in a shorter period of time than being part of the alliance. And I build this up, right? And I go, hey, listen, you got to get on my alliance. The world needs you. The world needs you to get on my alliance. And I people kind of give me a weird look. They're like, dude, are you really like going there? And then I start to pull heartstrings like big time. And I go, hey, let me ask you a question. How many of you stand up if you want to go into the medical field, right? And I had, out of this room of 150 people, probably 30 or so, 20, 30 stand up that are going to the medical field. And I said, hey, I just picked out a random kid. I said, hey, you, what's your name? What office are you from? Great. What do you want to do? I want to be a doctor, this kid says. I go, great. What kind of have you thought about what kind of medicine you want to practice? He goes, yeah, I want to go into oncology. I said, so you're telling me that you want to work in probably what is the most emotional aspect of medicine, like working with cancer patients, right? I said, dude, you have to get on my alliance. You know why? Because you're going to be working with people who are probably in the toughest point in their entire life. And if you've never experienced the toughest point of your entire life, how is it that you're going to be able to really connect with this person on an authentic level? Because what you're really asking this person to do is you're asking this person to do the impossible, right? When people hear cancer, what goes through their head? Holy shit, I'm going to die, right? Like, if I hear that diagnosis, like the first thing through my mind is, whoa, like I'm battling for my life. And if you've never done something that's completely challenged you more than anything you've ever done in your life, how can you look someone in their eye and ask them to do the most challenging thing they've ever done in their entire life? Right? And I said, hey, give me people a round of applause going into medicine. I said, hey, who's going into the field of technology? Right? And I picked someone out. I said, hey, what do you want to do? And they told me, and I said, you've got to get on my alliance. And I used that scenario, right? And I did business, and I did education, and I did this, and I did that. And it got the point across that it is not about selling a lot of cutco. It is about using these 2.5 weeks to change the next 2.5, 5.5, 10.5 years of your life, right? It's about the fact that the world needs you to challenge yourself. The world needs you to figure out what your real potential is, because I can guarantee you, what your true God-given potential is. What your feeling of that potential is probably 40% of what it really is. Like what you see as like my potential, right? That's probably 40% of the real God-given gift that you've been given as your potential in your life. And I really believe that the push is a way for you to like catalyze to that real potential and go, holy shit, I'm capable of so much more than I thought, right? And so it's about like, how badly do people want to be a part of this, right? It's not just, oh, that'd be cool, or, oh, that'd be nice. It's like, hey, my life and other people's and the world around me, the economy, the community that I'm part of, listen, you want to be a parent one day, you need to get on my alliance. You want to be a great mom, a great dad, a great spouse, you need to get on my alliance. Because in my opinion, the thing that SC2 Push really does is it teaches people how to navigate the peaks and the valleys of life. How to use this vehicle in 2.5 weeks, in these types of scenarios and situations and experiences that people are encountering, to learn how to navigate the ups and the downs of life. And the reality is, like, life punches you in the mouth sometimes. And most people don't know how to respond in the correct manner because they've never been put in a position where they've been required to really overcome something. And again, this is not me prejudging. This is not me, like, I'm not the judge and the jury here. I'm not the alpha and omega. All I'm saying is like life hits hard. And most people, the only time that they're dealing with that for the first time is when it hits them hard, versus them preparing themselves and callousing their mind prior to those things happening. So when they do happen, because they will, you know how to respond and how to react, and you're able to navigate those situations with more grace, with more humility, with more intention, right? And ultimately, the situation is better handled than it would have been had you not been a part of it. It's all about 4 weeks of promotion prior, and then 1 to 2 weeks prior to push is really gaining commitment. And what we do is we run an interview. We interview people for this, and it's a 45-minute long to an hour-long interview, and they dress up and they bring a resume and they sit down in front of in my case, a division manager or my pilot sales manager, and we talk about, hey, what do you love about the job? What are your favorite parts? What did you do last summer for work, and how does this compare? Hey, what are your least favorite parts about the job? No, not a trick question here. I'm genuinely curious. There's no wrong answer, right? I say, hey, have you thought about blank? Have you thought about blank? Have you thought about blank? And it's, for me, a lot of times the job of a leader, the job in our role is to see people as they can become and not as they currently are, right? So most of the conversations I'm having with people, this is like, hey, let me show you what the path could look like. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Right? And, it's funny how many assistant managers, branch managers, district managers, CSPs, and 5-star recruits outside of the business get on to making this a career. How many of those are really created through this SC2 Alliance interview? And then I go into, hey, in your words, you've heard about this for a while. Tell me, what is SC2? What is the push? What is the Alliance? And I have them tell me. And then after that, I just go nuts about what the push is. And it's challenging and it's fulfilling and it's fun, but it's probably one of the hardest things you've ever done. And it'll test you mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I do not want people who are doing this because it's what the cool kids are doing. I don't want people who want to be a part of this because it sounds cool. I want people who are going to be committed. to working their tail off, to going all out, to challenging themselves, to thinking big and acting big. Because when you think small, you act small. When you think big, you act big. And I really gain commitments. And so what they do is in this interview is we make a decision together. If we feel like there's someone that's a good fit, I go, hey, I think you'd be a great alliance member, Kathy, for these reasons. You're extremely competitive. You're a college athlete. You're someone who leads by example. You have an amazing attitude. You're incredibly energetic. You're a dynamic leader. I think you have enormous potential and incredible qualities that really tell me this is the type of person that should be a part of this leadership organization. But Kathy, I want to know from you, why do you think you should be a part of this? And I have them sell me on why should they be a part of my alliance, right? And then, I go, hey, listen, again, Kat, I want to gauge your commitment level here. Because I don't want people who are doing this because it's cool. I don't want people who are doing this because it's what the cool kids are doing. I want people who are committed on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you committed to? What's your level of desire and what's your level of commitment to being a part of it? And if you built it up for 4 weeks and then 1 to 2 weeks out, you've really started to gain commitment for the alliance, and then people are sitting in front of you and you're asking that question, that answer 9 times out of 10 is a 10, it's 11, it's a 12. And then I map out their push with them. I literally map out day by day the entire thing, phone jams, demos, alliance meetings. I cover expectations, and then we help them create a must do, should do, and a could do goal. And all of it, dude, if you do it the right way, the push portion is actually very easy, right? I'm sure you remember as a district manager, when you have it wired, I remember being a DM and SC2 push comes around, you get in there in the morning, you kick ass and take names. You're there till about 10:30 when everyone's left for their demos. And then your assistant managers are conducting interviews. And I literally remember the last 2 summers of being a DM, I went and played golf 5 days a week. Now I was taking a shitload of PDI calls, right? And, I was playing with my brother who was also taking PDI calls, so he didn't care, but like it was cool because you said everything's all set up beforehand. It's all the urgency. And I'll tell you this, even like this push right now, dude, on Saturday, I was not feeling like we were in a good place. I was feeling like we didn't have enough people on the end. I didn't have enough structure. I didn't so I made a decision on Sunday. Okay, I'm going to really map this thing out. And we had a lot of people interviewed, and we had a lot of people that we still needed to, because some of them were out of town with 4th of July and stuff. And, and we were really intentional about nailing the setup. And I was, I'm going to tell you, that's when the pressure's on, right? As a manager, is everything beforehand. Once the push starts, the pressure's off. Now it's just about execution. Everything comes in the setup. And so I think that early promotion, getting alliance buy-in and then doing that interview where you're cementing commitment and planning out their push. Here's what I tell people. Anything can be worked around as long as agreements are made. I don't think there's a single person. There might be only, out of the 20 people or so that are on our alliance, we probably only have maybe 5 of them that are in town the entire time during the push. Maybe 5. It might only be 3 or 4 that are literally in town for the whole thing. Everyone else is out of town for a week or 2, or these couple days, or this, or they have class, or they have this going on. And it's about, hey, listen, anything can be worked around as long as agreements are made. I've been doing this for 13 years. I can help you strategize around anything that you have going on. If you have the desire, if you have the commitment and agreements are made, we're good. So it's also about individualizing that process for people. We have a kid who's going to be a D1 cross country runner. He has to run with his team every single morning. He can't come into the alliance meetings, but you know what? He had a grand day yesterday, got 40 leads, and he's going to have a 17, 20K type SC2 push. Everything can be worked around as long as agreements are made. And then within the execution of it, it's are you getting people bought into being part of this with each other? Are you getting people to lock their arms together? Right. And we break the alliance into many teams. So we have 20 people on our alliance. We have 5 teams of 4 people. They come up with their own team name, their own team chant, and they have to announce, they have to do that every single morning while they're in the push. And then we have a point system. So we have a little skin in the game. Every single person on the alliance puts in $20. I match the pot as a division manager. And then we have a point system. So, you probably know this from Ben, Kathy. This is just amazing. I love it. there's a point system. So you get 1 point for every $500 in CPO you sell for the day. You get 1 point for every sponsor that you get with Rex on the day. You get 1 point for completing 4 demos. You get 1 point for booking 4 demos. So that's how you gain points. And then there's bonus point opportunities to drive certain things that you want to drive, right? Like yesterday, I did a bonus point opportunity for $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000 days. Today, I have bonus point opportunities for Homemakers, Siggy's, Ultimates, and Flatware. I had a bonus point opportunity. If you book 3 demos this morning, it's an extra bonus point for your team. Tonight, we're doing going to war theme team meeting. I said for the person that's the best dressed that gets voted #1 best dressed, it's 5 extra bonus points for your team. We're also using it to drive talent acquisition, right? I say, hey, tonight we're doing it at the phone jam. Any PR that you set is automatically, if you get a PR set for an interview, it's automatically an extra point for your team. So we're using that to drive some recruiting functions too, and talent acquisition type functions. And so that's how you gain points. You lose points. If you're late to a morning alliance meeting, you lose a point. If you have a goose egg on the day, you lose a point. If you don't complete 4 demos on the day, you lose a point. And if for some reason someone on your team no shows a morning meeting without a conversation, like they just oversleep their alarm or something, it's -3 points for the team. So we have this point system and we have a group WhatsApp, but then also all these teams have their own little iMessage like groups. And you should have heard one of my new reps to one of my advanced reps. She's like, dude, you need to step it up. You didn't get to 8 points yesterday. That's bullshit. Like, I'm competitive. I want to win this thing. And it was like one of my brand new reps. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, she's a college soccer player. She's not fucking around, right? So it really creates this awesome competition within the alliance, right? So not only are they locking arms together, they're leading the team together, but they're also competing within each other. It's a great dynamic. And it's about, during the push, all it's about is about showing up, right? You have to lower your expectation for results. Like, we've been doing this for a long time, Kat. 13 years of doing this, so many 10 plus alliances that we've ran. Not everyone looks the same. Not everyone starts the same. I remember being frustrated around July 4th. I was really, really pissed off because it just wasn't setting up the way that it normally does. And the alliance didn't look like it normally does. And I found myself really, really frustrated and almost feeling frantic, fuck, we don't have this set up like I want to. But the reality is not every push sets up the same way. Not every alliance sets up the same way. And it doesn't mean it can't be an incredible push period. It just means that it may not look the same. So you have to lower your expectation for results, and you have to increase your expectation for how you're showing up. Listen, if you say arrival time for your alliance is 7:30 to 7:45, you got to be there at 7:20. There should not be someone beating you to the parking lot. You should be, I have a lot of fun. I like to scare my reps as they walk in. I hide under the stairs and pop out as they come in. I'm doing something that lets them know I'm the first person here. I am the leader, right? If you are 90% committed, they're going to be 50% committed. If you're 95% committed, they're going to be 75% committed. If you're 110% committed, then they're going to be 100% commitment. And the reality about commitment is this. If you're 90% committed to something, you're going to see 40 to 50% of the results that you want to see. If you're 100% committed to something, you're going to see 90 to 100% of the results that you want to see. Listen, at the moment of true commitment, the universe will conspire to assist you, right? And that is the truth. The truth is at the moment of true commitment, the universe conspires to assist you. And what I find is really the difference really is 1 degree. Water at 211 degrees is really, really, really hot water. Water at 212 degrees becomes steam. It changes forms. It's a different, right? The difference is 1 degree. And you have to check and take an audit of yourself and where's your commitment level? Where do those things fall? Because your team is going to be a reflection of that, but it's going to be a minimized reflection of that. It's going to be a deducted version of your commitment. So I think that commitment is really what leads the charge, leads the push, and leads the execution, right? So people being focused on process, not on result, being focused on getting to the rule of 8, right? Between the amount of demos that you complete and the amount of demos that you book, you have to get to 8 every day, no matter what, minimum, no matter what. You didn't do your job. You did not push. You did not do what you were supposed to do if you didn't get to 8 points on the day. Not being focused on the CPO, being focused on on showing up with the right expectations and the right attitudes, because the reality is attitudes affect outcomes. Most people let their outcomes affect their attitude during the push. That's the trap that most people fall into, right? You have to make sure that your attitudes are affecting your outcomes and not the other way around. And keep it light and keep it fun. I think so many times during a push, it just becomes this pressure fest, right? And you have pressure and you feel this pressure and your reps feel this pressure. Reality is you keep it light, you keep it fun. People feel good, they do good. If people feel stressed and they feel anxious and they feel bound up and they feel tight, that's going to translate to their demos, and they're not going to make the sales, and they're not going to get the leads. So you got to keep it light. You got to keep it fun. I think that's really, really important too. So I have some things on the setup and the execution.
I love it. And, I've been doing pushes for many, many years. This is my 18th summer. And I'm here writing down so much of it. I'm like, shit, I think got all of it. I literally just messaged my assistant, like, you're scripting this for me in a little bit. Just so many fire, phrases. And I think overall, anyone watching, I think first off, you need to track, where's the intensity? Where's your intensity at, right? You could feel that, just coming off the screen, the intensity and passion about this time, and not just the time of the year, but what it can do for people. And that's something that's just so important of do people really get how this can transform their lives? Do they get what it's about? That it's not just about selling a lot of freaking knives, but it's about pushing your limits, expanding your capacity, learning how to handle rejection and perseverance, in spite of what's happening, in spite of outcomes, and just go and continuing and developing those mental and emotional muscles that are going to get them through all the bullshit later, right? That's what we're
bingo.
And they're muscles that they can use later for future things that have nothing to do with knives. And so do they really get that? I think that's so huge. And, Bryan mentions once the push starts, it's really you're just, Mary will be I just close sales all day. I'm like, that's it. We rock the crap out of the morning and then it's closing sales. But there is some emotional management involved too. And so I'd say that's the last thing. And I know most of our guys are on the other call, but if you can share a little to that, Bryan, with, when you do have those guys who are, they're working hard. Actually, I have one random thing. When you're saying 8 points for the day, or they didn't get 8 for the day, what were you talking about? 4 demos completed.
So we've talked about the rule of 8. So with a push, it's the rule of 8, meaning you get 1 point for every demo that you book. You get 1 point for every demo that you complete. And no matter what, every day of the push, 7 days a week, you got to get to 8 points on the day.
Yep.
As far as the emotional management, I think that's a great question, Kathy. And I think the first thing it starts with is perspective, right? Dude, I don't give a shit if your first 15 of the 18 days go poorly. That happens sometimes. Your first week will suck. Your second week will suck. It's about perspective and realizing it is truly a law of a thirds. And it's called that because it's a law, like gravity, right? It is scientific. It is proven, right? It's not a theory. It is a law. And the law states that a third of your days are going to be awesome, a third of your days are going to be average, and a third of your days are going to suck. And when you have those shitty days, celebrating them and marking them off your calendar, right? It's cool. Well, there's one of the 5 crappy ones that I'm going to have, right? Or one of the 6 crappy ones that I'm going to have. And when you have an average day, marking that one off too and being cool, there's an average one, right? But then it's also about what are your expectations for what crappy and what shitty is? If I'm going out right now to sell, let's say that I need to sell for P Banquet, right? I need to go on a 20K push as a DVM the last 2 weeks or something like that. Listen, a shitty day for me would be a $2,000 day. That's a shitty day for me. An average day would probably be $3,000. I would feel good about $1,000 would be an off day, right? And then a good day would maybe be a 4 or 5K day, right? So it's about adjusting your expectations and playing your own race. Let me tell you something. You get frustrated when you play the comparison game. When you play he's at blank and she's at blank and I'm working just as hard and I deserve it. That is fucking entitlement. That is poison, right? You know what you're entitled to? Nothing. You're entitled to working your ass off. You're entitled to getting the shit kicked out of you every now and then and learning how to respond to it. That's what you deserve. That's what you're entitled to. You don't deserve shit. You earn everything in life. And I think so many times, especially when we're experienced as managers, we do this all the time. It's I've sold $23 million worth of Cutco. I deserve to have this push go well. Well, tough shit. That's not how life works, you know? So I think it's about like having perspective. I think it's about having some self-awareness. I think it's about like removing the entitlement and the I deserve and the I feel like, right? And I think the other thing is this: micro speed, macro patience, right? Micro speed, like in the day-to-day, like, are you doing everything you need to do while simultaneously deploying macro patience and understanding like it's going to work itself out. It always does. We've been doing this for a long time. I'm sure you have stories of people who like between week 1 and week 2 are at $3,000, and then like the last week of the push, they pop off and they finish over 12 or 15K for the push. I've seen it happen. I mean, I had a kid named Sam Bowl. Week 1 of the push last year, 3K, you know, out of town for the whole first week. Week 2, technically his first week, 3K. Week 3, $18,000, right? Went from 3K to 18 grand. I can't tell you how. I have dozens of stories, maybe even at this point, hundreds of stories that are like that. So I know it's a fact. And it's about, are you confident enough in that fact to transfer that type of perspective to your people and have micro speed, right? Because it can't just be macro patience, because then you aren't urgent in the day-to-day, right? It's about micro speed and macro patience and realizing like it's all going to work itself out. I think the other thing that was emotional management is it's a 1-day push 18 times, right? It's not an 18-day push. It's a 1-day push 18 times. And if you have that shitty day, fucking forget about it and move forward. And then if you have the great day, fucking forget about it, act like you're at 0 and move forward, right? I think that's so critical, because I think what happens is we get caught up in the, oh, I'm behind. Oh, I'm behind. Let me tell you something. It's not this pretty little thing that's like, oh, I have a 10K push. It's $556 a day and it's going to happen like that. No, it doesn't work like that, right? You know, Shaka Smart, he coached at VCU a couple years back, and he talked about you got to win ugly, right? Sometimes you got to win ugly. And let me tell you something, like there's no like replay on the scoreboard. It's just the score, right? So don't worry about how it looks. Just focus on, are you doing the right things? And I think with your people, it's about, hey, first of all, like I think so many managers try to get them to feel better immediately and just kind of like, oh, it's okay. You're, crappy day. Let them feel into it for a second. Like empathize with them for a fucking second, right? If they feel like shit, be like, dude, that sucks. Listen, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. I totally understand where you're coming from, right? Like, no big deal. Let me just, first of all, let's feel into this. This sucks. You got rear-ended and your car is out of commission for 3 days. This sucks. I get it. But then it's at the same point going, okay, cool. Well, let me ask you this. Is it going to affect you 5 years down the road? Okay, cool. Well, let's not spend more than 5 minutes being negative about it. So let's be neg as shit for the next 3.5 minutes, because we've been talking for 90 seconds so far. So we got 3.5 more minutes to be super neg, and we're gonna get it all out of our system. Let's fucking purge it, right? And then it's moving forward, being solution oriented. Because let me tell you something, anyone can fucking find problems. You don't get paid to find problems. You get paid to solve them, right? Like as a CEO, we are firefighters. That's what we do. Like people like the difference between a VP and a CEO is a VP brings problems to the CEO and a CEO solves them, right? Like a VP might be able to, anyone can identify a problem. It takes a certain person to be able to solve it. So I get them focused on like being solution oriented and just being, it's like, hey, let's get creative here. Now, how can we respond to this in the right way? I think that's so important. And so it's like being empathetic and not just being the like dumb positive guy. It's like, oh, it's okay, it happens. Like empathize with them for a second. If it's not going to affect you 5 years down the road, don't spend more than 5 minutes being negative about it. And then also share stories that inspire them, right? It's like, hey, your biggest demos come after your worst demos. Your biggest days come after your worst days. I remember I had a rep named who that did this, and here's how it happened for them. Because listen, if even one person in your situation has done it, guess what? You can do it too. It's there is GPS style directions towards getting what you want. If even one person that has a similar situation than you has done it in the past, then you can do it too. So I think it's about sharing those stories and like inspiring them. And then the key is using that inspiration and making sure that it translates into action, right? Because if it's not action, it's not real. It's not real. It's not. It's like it's just. It's elemental. It's not something that we can really track. And so what we want to do is we want to turn that inspiration into action, because then people are focused on taking action. When you take action, let me tell you something, action conquers anxiety, right? Action conquers anxiety. Anytime I'm feeling anxious, anytime I'm feeling stressed, what do? I do fucking something, right? I plan, I work out, I get a call with someone, I take action, because as soon as I start taking action, my anxiety dissipates, right? And so it's not about being focused on the result, it's about being focused on the process. And it's about making sure that you help people deploy perspective, and that it's macro patience, or it's micro speed and macro patience, and that you really get them to think about the big picture. Because when your hand's this far in front of your face, it's really hard to see what's on the other side of it. When you move it backwards a little bit, you can see what's around it and realize, like, we got a lot left of this thing. So I think those are some things to help you with the emotional management.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Such great stuff. I mean, I'd love to sit here for a couple more hours, because I just love talking to you and I love hearing you. Fires me up.
Same.
Let's go. Super excited and ready for the day. I'm heading off to my CSP retreat, and I've got a couple guys here, but I just thank you so much. And for those, anybody, watching this, and you're always able to put out through social media if you have questions or anything, but, I think big things through. And I love how you said even this past week, as you were getting ready to like crap one out there, even if right now you're like the push starts in 4 or 5 days, you don't have who you want, you can still make something happen,
Oh, yeah.
People, pouring into them, and as well as with recruiting and adding those layers of like the new guys and getting them excited about, hey, you guys have the best fast starts ever, because your fast start is like, while we have these morning workshops that you can attend that can grow you so much, where you don't have this any other time of the year, and getting your people excited about that, and just adding layers through that can also, like, there's been times where I didn't have a big alliance, and even right now we are nowhere where we want to be for alliance. And I'm right now pressing like, are we even in double digits, and need to confirm people. But I'm like, I will have 20 plus here in the mornings, through fast starters, through inviting people and get people jazzed. And I've had people that started coming the first mornings and then kept coming, and they weren't committed. They hadn't signed a contract on being there, but they were like, oh my God, this is amazing, because you're coming, you're showing up, you're delivering. And they're like, I want to be a part of this. So run each morning, as they're going to be there every day, and they keep coming back, is what I found.
Yep. That's exactly right. Run each morning as if you have the next Kathy Vasquez as a new rep sitting in front of you. The next Kathy Christian is in front of you. And if you don't deliver, you don't develop that person into the Kathy Christian, right? It's like, make those types of decisions. See people as they can become, not as they are. And really show up powerfully for your people, because when you do that, they're going to respond, tenfold. It's so true.
I have some questions, Kat.
Go ahead.
Sweet. Good to see you, Bryan.
What's up, bro?
My first question was, I guess, like, okay, so you're getting up early for your alliance. What time for yourself are you putting, like, because one of the things I struggle with during alliance is like, man, I'm taking PDI till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and then I'm having to get up at 5:36, do that a few days in a row, and you're just low on energy. So what time is like your hard stop of like, call the sales manager, call whoever on that?
Yeah, during the push, you gotta deploy some self-awareness. You gotta know who you are, right? Like, I know that if I get 6 or 7 hours of sleep, I can survive. If I get less than 6, I'm going to be dragging ass, right? And I just know that about myself. So if I know if my alarm is going off at 6 o'clock, in order for me to spend a little bit of time in silence, focus on my intentions for the day prior to me getting started with the day, then I have to make sure that I'm in bed by 11, right, at the latest. Because if I go 11 to 6, I get my 7 hours, right? So I think that's important. I think also not starting your day distracted. Like, let me tell you something. I don't look at social media or check email for the first hour and a half of my day. So at 6 o'clock, I wake up. With the alliance, it's been not until like 10 o'clock, that I haven't even looked at email yet. Because what do I want to do? I want to be completely centered on what is the most important thing. And there's no chance that anything on social media or anything in my inbox and my email is nearly as important as me showing up for these 20 people that are meeting me at my office. So
Yeah.
I make sure that I distract the distractions, right, immediately. So I don't look at my email. I don't refresh my inbox. I don't look at anything social media from the time I get up until after I finish with my alliance. And I'm really intentional about that. I think also like being really hydrated, getting some movement in, right? There are 4 things that really create and manufacture energy that are like natural things. Like I'm talking about like movement, sleep, nutrition, and hydration. Like those 4 things, they're the things that manufacture energy, right? Like I'm not the most in shape person, but I've been really intentional about this summer about making sure I get at least one workout in a week. And I try to make sure it's either before or on the day that I know I'm going to have the most shit going on, that I could probably likely be the most frustrated, because if I get that workout in, I'm going to be mellow regardless of what's happening. Right. It's about making sure that you're hydrated, making sure that you're putting good in, so you're getting good out. Like, you're talking to the queen of this on this call, right? Like, you probably hear this preached all the time. Sleep, hydration, movement, nutrition. I mean, you do those things and you feel good and you do good. So, dude, I would say, as a district manager, I was answering those calls like you up until they came in, but what I would say is, you need to be, and you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So like, you might think that you're benefiting them by taking those calls at 11:30. You're not, dude. If I'm you, I'm going to cut myself off as a DM. I'm going to cut myself off at maybe 9:30 or 10 o'clock. My assistant managers can handle it from there. And then I can get a good hour and a half to see, listen, again, self-awareness. I have to, like, I'm so fucking high energy all the time. Dude, I need a minimum of like 2 hours at night to like do nothing, to wind down, to like watch an episode of Game of Thrones, or like to read a book, or to literally like mindlessly scroll Instagram, whatever it is, like whatever way that you unplug. Like, I know that about myself. I need a minimum of 2 hours if I'm going to like, to go from like me finishing my day to me being able to go to sleep. I need a minimum of 2 hours to wind down. So if I need 2 hours to wind down and I need to be in bed by 11, I got to be cut off by 9, So just deploying some self-awareness there, I think, is important. And then putting systems in place, to help bolster those types of decisions that, allow you to show up for your peeps the right way.
Got it. And then with your like